what kind of twists or turns led you to the retail industry?
Honestly, I was not trying to solve a problem. I was trying to create something which didn't exist. Most of us do not write or have a purpose in life. And most of us do not align our purpose with the organizational purpose. And that's where the mismatch comes.
There was even a controversy recently about Indian startups not doing anything innovative or creative or cutting edge and focusing on delivering meals within 15 minutes or groceries.
Do Indians require a 7-minute delivery or 10-minute delivery for us to create a delivery ecosystem? Because yes and no.
B.S. Nagesh. Welcome to the show, B.S. Nagesh. Hello and welcome to this podcast by Great Manager Institute. My name is Prasenjit Bhattacharya. I am the founder of Great Manager Institute. We are very lucky. Today we have with us somebody who is, I can call him as the father of Indian retail industry, who was not only the managing director and vice chairman, subsequently chairman of very well-known retail organization called Shoppers Stop, but who went on to do something for the entire industry. He created a trust. TRRAIN is, as we know it, is the trust for retailers and retail associates in India on the basis of his consistent belief that people are the ones who have to drive retail. B.S. Nagesh. Welcome to the show, B.S. Nagesh. And
Thank you.
So
Thank
good
you,
to have
Prasenjit.
you. Everyone knows about what you have accomplished, what you have done, because those are things which are there in public domain. But we would like to know you as a person. And maybe much before retail came into your life, your journey as an individual, the formative years, influences, and what kind of twists or turns led you to the retail industry. But let's talk a little bit about your formative years, Nagesh.
First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure being here. Yeah, born in Bangalore, brought up in Uttar Pradesh. Yeah, dad was in the railways. I'm told when I was 3 months old, he took a job in Northeastern Railway based in Gorakhpur. So did my schooling from Gorakhpur, then Bareilly, then did my graduation from Gorakhpur, went off to Allahabad to do my materials management course, and finally my MBA from BHU. Yeah, so passed out in 82. Did 3 stints of close to 3 years each. Started my career with Blowplast as a sales executive and grew to becoming an area manager at Hyderabad and Vijayawada, and came back to Delhi to sell Sony televisions as the branch manager and regional manager for North, and then finally moved to Bangalore again to run a chain of retail stores in Corona footwear. So that was from 1982 to 82 is when I passed out to 1990. Okay, and during this period, which is 1990, is when the pagalpan, junoon, madness of what I want to do in life hit me. I used to run 128 stores of 500 square feet each, maybe two and a half, 3 times or 4 times this room. I got fed up. I said, I wish somebody in this country opens a 50,000 square feet. You know how we like to add zeros when we want to think big. So 500 to 50,000 square feet. And I kept telling my immediate boss, if anybody opens this 50,000 square feet store, I'll run it. And it so happened that his friend, who's a headhunter, got the job from Rehejas to find a person who can run a 50,000 square feet. So my life changed with this 50,000 square feet as the word. That's it. When I heard there's a 50,000 square feet property in Mumbai, which they want to convert into a business, I just jumped on a train and came here and took the job. In hindsight, no LinkedIn, no check, no reference check, just that word 50,000 square feet, and first time coming into Mumbai.
And that was the canvas that you wanted to paint. And I dare say at that time there would not be too many people who would have had actual expertise of running a 50,000 square feet.
including myself.
Yeah, and you didn't have the experience either, so it was a leap of faith for you and for the Rahejas.
Yes, I would say for both of us, and I love when you say for Rahejas, because I get a lot of credit for what's happened in the last 30 years. And a lot of credit, I would say 50% should go to Rahejas for allowing me to do what I did at that point of time. Joining an unknown developers, that time they were very small, coming to an unknown city and getting into a business where you are the first employee. No name, no company, no business, no card, no brand, no marketing, no category. You don't know what you're supposed to do. I just landed because of 50,000 square feet. And if you look at today, I mean, anybody who takes a call like that, I would say, stupid. How can you jump and go into a new city with your wife and a young daughter of 3 years? And that's how I landed.
And you do not come from a business family. Correct me if I'm
No,
wrong.
my father was in the railways, a typical middle class government employee.
And yet you had the audacity to take that jump at a stage in your life when probably you were not financially self-sufficient for the rest of your life. You still had to earn, and you had a
Yes.
you apart from your wife, you had a child, you who was young. Apart from the fact that clearly it was a very large ambition, big, hairy, audacious kind of opportunity that drove you. Was there anything else at all in that decision?
No, no, it was just a big dream. And when I talk to people and meet students, I say, boss, अगर dream है तो सोचो उसके बारे में, करो उसके बारे में. So it was just a dream to say 50,000 square feet. And honestly, dream is a much more positive word. It was madness, because there was not a single store in this country which was 50,000 square feet. There was no modern retail business with 50,000 square feet. And the Rahejas had a property which was 50,000 square feet, and they wanted to use it commercially. And I was 30 years old. And so I was part of the startup of the 1990s with nothing of today available at that point of time.
So before I go into the retail industry and the challenges at that point in time, tell us a little bit about this family or this group which was into real estate. Obviously understood that they have a property and therefore they want to use it, but using it to create a retail business of that magnitude can mean that they can burn their fingers, and there could be a very big hole in their balance sheet, and they took the risk. What is it about them, and in particular about whoever was your chairperson at that point in time, that strikes you as
So I would not look at it as a risk. I would look at it as somebody who caught on to the opportunity. The reason I'm saying not a risk is, as real estate developers, the property belonged to them, and the property was closed and it was idling. Okay, so an idling property being put to use is part and parcel of real estate business. But at that particular point of time, to see and visualize an opportunity of doing something for the consumer and consumption. Don't forget 1991 July I joined. 1991 March was the time when Mr. Manmohan Singh opened up the country. Okay, so today you may say it was a chance, but the Raheja brothers, that is it. From that point of view, they are visionary to look at a standstill closed property and convert it to something which is going to be consumer. And for me, it was just a dream. I had never traveled abroad. I didn't know what a department store is. And there was no reference in the country to say, hey, guy, go and look at the store and see, can you do something like that? So, so to me, it was the opportunity. And this is where I want to combine for your listeners to say, when you have a dream and when you see an opportunity, I mean, you have to jump on it. These kind of things don't happen. Okay, all of us get this opportunity, but all of us keep using the statement, what if? And this problem of what if is very serious, because the moment you ask, you naturally have hundreds of problems. But if you don't ask the question, no problems come in. And that's the opportunity I got. And I got it as an employee. I was the first employee of this company, and very rarely in the retail business around the world. Okay, a business is started by an employee on behalf of promoters. Across the world, retail business is started by promoters and they hire employees. So it's a very strange situation. I don't know, destiny, chance, whatever, whatever. And that's how I came into picture.
Tell me a little bit more about the organized retail scenario, if at all there was something like that in 1991, and what were your top three challenges at that point in time?
So, Prasenjit, there was nothing called organized retail. I mean, this word organized retail didn't exist that time. Okay, because at a later stage, 2005, when I started the Retail Association of India, before in 2013-14 I started, 2011 I started the trust. That was a time when we actually coined this word called organized unorganized. Okay, but honestly later on we realized it's not organized unorganized, it should be traditional and modern retailers. So we start calling ourselves, or whoever came, as modern retailers. And the definition of modern retailing was that you have employees, you have computers, and you comply with all the laws. Now all the three was not existing at that point of time. We were probably one of the first stores to start a POS, a whole computerized operations. Okay, it was an air-conditioned store of such a large size. We were fully compliant, and we had employees, including me. So honestly, if you ask me, this combination was probably the starting of a modern retail business. They were very large stores, very successful stores. So you had a Benzer and an Amazon and an Akbarelis here, or you had a Nalli's, or you have a Heritage Emporium. I mean, there were large stores across the country, but they were all stores run by the family. Okay, and they have been generational stores. This is the first time when professionals came in. In fact, when I came into Mumbai, a lot of us questioned to say, how can a real estate developer who has no background on fashion run this? How can somebody who's not a Kutchi set up a business in Mumbai? Okay, how can this guy even set up a business wearing tie and suit and do retailing? Because retailing is not a tie and suit business. So these were the questions when I really started the business. And there was no name, there was no employees, there was no HR, nothing. So that was the environment that we got. And if you look at laws, I mean, there were no laws for modern retail. I mean, stores had to be closed every Thursday. Okay, they had to operate under the old traditional environment. So anything that we wanted to do was for the first time. There was no computer system for retail. So I had to go and beg techies to come into India, beg. We paid for the airfare and hotel stay to come and set up a system for us. In today, if I put a LinkedIn post, well, I have 500 people wanting to come to India to serve you. So I think that is the kind of environment that we got. The only thing was that we had no baggage. All of us wanted to do everything which was impossible in anybody's mind. If anybody said this is not possible, we say no, hum karte hain. In fact, the biggest shock that people are getting after they're reading my book is that we set up Shopper Stop in 90 days time. I joined on 1st of July, 17th of July, the Rajas met me and they said we have to open before November. In 90 days from start to finish, setting up the first part of the store was a breeze because nobody told us that you can't do it in 90 days. Today people are asking me in college which project management tool were you using. Arey, computer in where's the question of project management tool? It was just the junoon. It was just saying, hoega, karenge.
One is the junoon. The second one is transmitting that passion to a team of people and building the self-confidence in them that they can do something which has not been tried in India before. What was the dream that you sold to them? Because not everybody would be excited by a 50,000 square feet store. What was the big problem that you were trying to solve in 1991 when people didn't think it was a problem?
Honestly, I was not trying to solve a problem. I was trying to create something which didn't exist. And I mean, whenever I was trying to hire people, it was just talking to them, saying, join this movement. I don't know what will happen to this movement. But every person that we hired, from the front end associates to the senior most person, all of them came with a different background. And now I can say we ensured they didn't have any baggage, but that point of time, nobody was willing to join it. I mean, you go and talk to a parent and said, do you want? He says, दुकान में काम करेगा मेरा बेटा, engineer है, ये है, वो है. So it was purely on the basis of the right attitude, no baggage, no experience in the field, okay, and somebody wants to have fun. And that's something we started in 1991 at a much later stage. One of a very senior person, Ajay Krishnamurthy, somebody asked him, how's been Shoppers Stop for you? He said, in Shoppers we have good days and bad days. but never a boring day. That's all. I mean, that actually sums it up. That you have colleagues for whom everything is positive. I mean, we never looked at challenge as a challenge. In every challenge, we looked at an opportunity. In fact, I do sessions across colleges and say, you bring me a challenge, let's look for an opportunity there.
I'm intrigued, and I'm going to invite you to go maybe one level deeper in your own experiences, in your own lives, in your own inspiration and influences. You come from a generation which is even older to my generation, and typically you will be called a no vacancy generation. When you grew up, you were in college, there were signboards in front of offices that said no vacancy. You have seen all those Hindi movies where the hero kept on going, moving from one office to another with a no vacancy sign. So for the no vacancy generation, the number one driver is job security. And everybody had a cousin or somebody else who was very qualified but who probably was unemployed. For somebody of that time to say that I want to have fun, and it's not about the problem I'm solving, it is about creating something that has never happened before. Oh my God, have you gone nuts? Trying to have fun. What will happen to your wife, to your child, and your railways employed father has not left a fortune, is my assumption. Uh, how did you develop that attitude?
So, Prasenjit, I have a formula which I talk to everybody, and I say that in life and in career, there are 3 Fs. Okay, you have to decide which is the F that you want to follow. The first one I call it as functional satisfaction. Enjoy your job. The second is build fame. Okay, you want to become very famous. And the third is finance. You want to become rich. Okay, for whatever reason, influenced by my father, and we will talk about it a little later, I always chased functional satisfaction. Always. And I have seen that if you're chasing functional satisfaction, you want to enjoy your job, you want to love your job. Okay, 99% of the case, fame and finance follows it. In my journey of 35 years in retail now in Shoppers, a lot of youngsters joined me as graduate trainee and management trainee. Today, they are CEOs of the well-known companies. And I have seen people who chased money, left after 3 years, where they are. I've seen people who just wanted to work and enjoy the job, where they are. And people who wanted to do famous, at that particular point of time, they became a director from being a manager, and they remained a director in life. So it has really worked for me. And even today also, if you look at it, when I stepped out at the age of 50 to start my trust, everybody said, you gone mad. And people said, सब लोग बोलते हैं कोई करता नहीं है. I was not chasing money. I was chasing this whole desire to do something for the community, which has given me so much of fame, so much of name. Work. It's actually very simple. We make it complicated by thinking too much. It's very simple. I mean, this podcast or this interaction that we are having, if you're not enjoying the interaction, it'll show on your face on the camera. But if you're enjoying it, I mean, the very nature of their energy and enjoyment, people will love watching it. It's as simple as that.
Here is a dilemma that I often find, particularly some of my young colleagues have. When you talk about functional satisfaction, you never set out to say that I will become a supply chain expert, or I will become an expert in merchandising, or whatever are those areas that people have that you have in retail. Today, there are a lot of people who would come and say, I am only doing this within digital marketing, or I would only like to specialize in something. So, how did you define this functional satisfaction? What does it mean to you? Because you have done many things.
So I have to go one step above this. See, most of us do not write or have a purpose in life. Okay. And most of us do not align our purpose to the organizational purpose. And that's where the mismatch comes. Okay. If my purpose was clearly to do something for the consumers. And right post my college, I did a consumer research because I was always intrigued with consumer behavior without understanding why I'm doing it. Yeah. And the second is, I always was fascinated with how people do things which creates an impact. So my journey has been only about people, whether they are employees, colleagues, or consumers. Okay. So when you look at this cohort of consumers and people, and that being your purpose, it's very easy to do that. See, being a supply chain specialist and all that comes later on. Okay, I met a very young person last week in Bangalore in a college. She must be 20 years old. And I was asking, there were 350 kids, and I was asking, how many of you have written a purpose statement? There were only two of them. And this girl said, I'm willing to share. She's doing a master's, a BBA course. She was able to tell me that my purpose is to see how can help people having mental issues, okay, come out of it, or at least help them support in life. 19 years BBA, which means she could do MBA and she could join a large company. But there's a very clear purpose. Now, for this, she doesn't have to run an NGO. She could be working even in a pharmaceutical company which is making things for such illness. See, we always think that purpose means it has to be aligned to a function. No, it has to be the end result. So if somebody says, I want to work towards road safety, doesn't mean you have to become a traffic police. You could be working for a component company which is making a component for a two-wheeler, but you know that this component is so important for the two-wheeler. If I don't concentrate and love my job, there could be a problem of fatality there. So I think that is very critical. So for somewhere, I was very influenced by my father, okay, who did something for the community at the age of 70, and he died when he died in 86. It had become a big thing in South, and that's what pushed me to take that call at the age of 50. So purpose drives passion, and passion drives satisfaction through whatever you're doing. You could be doing anything.
Yes, and in a sense, if I hear you right, don't run after a dream job. If you are lucky to find your purpose, there could be any number of jobs which will become dream jobs. Absolutely. Because they are helping you move towards your purpose.
Absolutely. And if you don't make the job as a dream job, and if you're not happy, you can never do well in job. I mean, today I was in a conference with a very senior person. I was conducting a panel, and he mentioned something which is very strange. He said 82% of Indians are looking for changing their job in the next 12 months. And he said this is not unique. The global figure as of today is 60%. Now look at it. If such a large cohort is wanting to change the job, it must be because of the three. Either they're not satisfied money-wise, or they want a better designation, or they're not happy with the job.
No, but this is fascinating. You did mention about what your father did at a late age, and that left an impact on you, and in fact helped you with your decision to do something outside of corporate. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So there were two things as part of my life which got influenced and guided by my father. One was my mother had, and that is part of my book, Serve. My mother had a serious illness, and that time I was 5 years old. And at 5 years, I used to take foot to the hospital on my cycle, which was 3 kilometers. And my father believed that, so what, if you're 5 years, you can do this job. So he left me to situations which otherwise will be very guarded situations for a family. A 5-year kid taking a small bike and going 3 kilometers to deliver a dabba, okay, is something that he taught me when I was young. At that point of time, he said, all of you have to be independent. He taught me how to stitch, sew, do everything, cook. I could sew a dress for my sister when I was 8, 10, 12. And then what I was telling you about the incident was at the age of 70, something 70s, he met with a very serious accident. And I went to see him, and his one leg was fully fractured and it was hanging. So I went and said, Dad, how are you? He said, first class. I said, one leg is hanging and you're saying first class. He said, yeah, my other leg is absolutely right. That's the man. And anyhow, he came to recuperate to Mumbai, and he was watching from a house a garden where people were laughing. So I went and spoke to them and said, why are you laughing? He said, no, we do laughter yoga. So he found out who is teaching laughter yoga. The gentleman called Dr. Madan Kataria. He went and met him, and he went back to Bangalore after he was fine. and started Laughter Club in Bangalore under the name of Romeo, Romeo. And we were wondering, I said, this old man, what is this Romeo? It was called Retired Officers Meeting and Eating Out. Okay. And he
Yes.
started this, and when he passed away, there were some hundreds of clubs across South. So he was the founder of Laughter Movement in South. And so much so that when he died, in the Shraddh, we actually conducted a laughter session instead of crying. So I mean, these are things which, as a son or as anybody watching, would say was this is the spirit of life. I mean, we have enough reasons to cry, but if you find a great reason to enjoy, just chase a great reason.
So, if you're looking at all these incidents, is there any one that comes to your mind as a turning point which shaped you in a very significant way, and what you did subsequently?
Yeah, I think the turning point is something I've not even mentioned here. I was a very good sports person, but a very bad student. I almost failed in my 11th standard. Almost. I scraped through, and coming from a family of engineers and doctors and professionals, I mean, the whole family was very, very
Upset.
sad, upset, and they, made me the black sheep of the company. And my dad called me and said, "What happened?" I said, "No, this is what it is." He says, "Where were you in the 11 students in your class?" I said, "I was seventh." So he said, "You are ahead of three." I said, "Yes." He said, "You celebrate because you're ahead of three." I mean, that changed my life. After that, I've always been in the top 5% because he taught me to look at how you can see failure and look at that as an opportunity to succeed. So I've had multiple failures in my journey, including what last 35 years. In fact, in my book, in one chapter called Making Mistakes, I have shared all the journeys. And whenever I talk, I tell people, please read that chapter because make fresh mistakes. Older mistakes, I have already done it. It is documented. So I think that's one thing that taught me how to deal with challenges, how to deal with failures, and how to look ahead of failures. And that's the turning point of my thinking. The turning point of my life and career in profession was jumping gun and coming to Mumbai and taking on Shopper Stop.
That's a very interesting story. I uh, happened to be in a place where the coach of this badminton player who was the world champion and Sindhu. PV Sindhu's coach was being asked a question that it was All England Championship and she won the semi-finals, and the coach didn't show any emotion. When she lost in the finals, the coach jumped and went to her and spent a lot of time trying to console her. And when he was asked in that forum, why did you not show any emotion when she actually won the semi-finals? He said the tournament was on. At that point in time, the glass was half empty because she hasn't yet finished the finals. He said, why were you so enthusiastic and you were seen chatting up with her and consoling her and patting her when she lost the finals? He said, the tournament is over. She has got the silver medal. The glass is half full. And he said the mistake that people often make is that they think that the glass is half full when they should think it is half empty, and when they should really feel that thank God it's half full. And that was such an interesting example that you gave, that there were three people behind you. It's your frame of reference.
Yeah.
That makes all the difference. Uh, I can go on and on about this, your personal journey and the learnings that you have had, because this is such an interesting conversation. But you did mention about the book. Tell us a little bit more about the book and what prompted you to write that book.
So the book is called Serve, SCRVE, and it's not a book on my autobiography. It's neither a book on the chronicle of the journey at Shopper Stop. This is a book about building the business with a heart. I'm a strong believer that if you can actually create a team, take a team of colleagues, and you can build anything. Okay, and if you believe in saying you empower people and let go, okay, work happens. When I stepped out of Shoppers, people thought it will collapse. The company is standing. Uh, I started Retail Association of India. Kumar took over and is running. It's the biggest association in the country. I started TRRAIN with Amisha as the CEO. She's a co-founder. It's running and has grown tremendously. So to me, I think the most important thing is how do you build businesses? And this is not as a lecture I'm giving as my learnings. Okay, that if you really empower people, they have tremendous potential to do something, and mostly they are able to do things better than you. Yeah. So last 10 years after I stepped out, I started TRRAIN. A lot of people came and said this, and you've had this experience. Why don't you write a book? I attempted. Every time I write a few chapters, I don't like it. I stopped it. Last year, I met the crossword team and I said, I want you to do this. They said, why don't you take a co-author? So we went and looked at a few people. Then Ritu Farao is the co-author. And it took us 6 months to vibe with each other, understand, because it is written in the first term. And then it was a breeze. 12 months, we completed the book, and we launched it on December 16th last year. And the reason why we took the word service, I used to be a badminton player of fairly good repute as a district champion and all that. And I always kept saying, oh, my service is something it's not easy to pick up. And through the journey of Shoppers, everything that we built was all on customer service. And TRRAIN was all about serving community and serving humanity. And therefore, we said the best thing to do is to write this book on serve. So this book is not for retail. This book is not for any particular function. This is for any business leader who has gone through the journey and where service to humanity, service to community, service to customer can make you build a business. And that is likely to last longer, okay, when you create a business for the shareholder.
You talk about a concept which is very interesting and very difficult, uh, which is about how do you empower people. And it's a reality that many organizations will continue to go last far beyond the founder, the National Dairy Development Board or ISRO or any of those organizations. However, the founder is so passionate about the business that it becomes almost impossible for him or her to let go and create conditions for empowerment. Often the opposite is true. He creates or she creates conditions for dependency where everybody comes running to him or her. How did you manage to do the opposite?
See, there are 2 or 3 principles I have, which are very simple principles. The first is, after having spent time with the candidate, when you recruit the person and issue appointment letter, you go with 100% trust. This is what happened with Rahejas. They got a 30-year-old unknown person from Bangalore for the first time to Mumbai and gave keys to a 50,000 square feet property. Okay, because they built trust. So it was so easy for me to trust. And the opposite of that is, you do anything to mistrust, then I trust you zero. There's nothing called 99% trust. A lot of people say, he did think I don't trust him. 99%. There's nothing 90%. In trust, it is 0, 100%. So when you trust somebody at the time the person joins you, then you have to allow him to do for what he has come. And it's a very strange thing in businesses and HR practices. We hire people for capabilities and we review their weaknesses through the year. It's amazing. I mean, you look at
you hire them for their strengths.
Yeah. And you look at any review, performance review, it's only about weaknesses. You did not do, you never say, I got you for this. What did you do with this? Or how well have you done that? So the moment you trust, then you empower. See, without trust, you can't empower. Because you have to first, the moment you trust and empower and believe in them, it happens. I mean, the largest festival in retail at that point of time was called a British festival. Okay. The British festival was the first time a small retailer tied up with the British government to bring in the festival. That festival was managed by 10 graduate trainees who were in their 20s to 24. 5 out of the 10 are CEOs, CEO Skechers, CEO Imagica, CEO Kaya. All these are first batch management trainees. Everybody said this is such a risky thing, you're allowing this 10. Because the energy is what they did, there was no way anyone of us could have done it. And this is true. Today you look at startups that 25, 28. I mean, there is energy. Somebody has to believe in them. And I'm saying the investors must be believing in them when they put money. I think that is very, very critical. So empowerment goes with trust, and the ability to let go helps the trust and empowerment for people to perform.
And I think it is a question that I often ask myself, that belief in the other person, which, in other words, trust, does that lead to performance, or demonstrated performance, does it lead to belief in the other person? And very often I have found great leaders actually do what is seemingly opposite. They transmit their belief in the potential of the person in such a abundant measure that performance happens.
Yeah,
Is that your experience?
absolutely, absolutely. Not only as a process, but as an anecdote. Every time when I went on leave, and for 30 years I've never missed my leave. I take all my leaves because that's the best thing that one should do. Okay, every time I went out, the business performed better than me. That's number one. Number two, you have to really realize that I and you are not the same. The way I do the things, okay, if I expect you to do the things in the same way, then I should be hiring clones. Okay, and that is important. Each one will do in a different way. You have to accept that. It will be 9 on 10, 7 and 10, or 11 on 10. God knows what will be the outcome. So that has, yeah, it's always, I mean, it could be less than what you thought you were doing or more than what you were doing, but you have to accept this fact. See, because unless you let go, things will not happen. Succession never happens. I mean, when I stepped out at 50, people said, "What are you doing?" And but very few people know that at 45, I had told the board that in 5 years I'm going to step out. Please, let's plan for a succession plan. It happened.
Well, you are an exception. There are so many stories of leaders, whether it is Mrs. Thatcher in UK or anybody else that you can think of, who are unwilling to let go, and you decided that you will give it up at 50. What prompted you and to move to the next phase, and talk a little bit more about what you were seeking to achieve through the trust?
So, Prasenjit, I think partly influenced my father, partly the Hindu philosophy that you learn. I use this statement to convince myself and the world, okay, which I call it as 25 years of learning, 25 years of earning, and 25 years of returning. Okay, so when I decided at 45 I'm going to step out at the age of 50, I said this will be my returning phase. We're a small family, husband, wife, two daughters. Daughters are on their own. We don't require too much in life. Whatever I am today, the reason you called me is what has happened in my life between the 25 to 50 years. And I want to give it back, and I want to give it back to the industry, which has given me name and fame. And this industry is very strange. 95% of people in this industry are frontliners, okay, and they are the lowest paid in the country. So I said, if I need to do something, can I do something for them? Because during my journey as managing director, in spite of the fact that I was responsible for 20, 30,000 people working, I felt that we've never been able to do the best for them and attracting people to come into retail. So when I set up this trust, I said, let's do something which can really help the front end associates, and who are in large numbers. There are 56 million people who work in retail industry. And that's where we picked up this thought, and we did a lot of research, and we identified 4 areas to work on, and we converted the 4 areas into 4 words and 4 projects, again to make things very simple for us. Somebody made a statement that हम तो society में बोलते नहीं कि दुकानों में काम करते हैं, because there's no pride in the industry. So we said pride. Second was पढ़े लिखे नहीं है, इज्जत नहीं है, recognition. Second word we picked up was recognition. Third, some kiranas I met, they said, we work for the society, but society हमको अपना नहीं मानती. Inclusion. And the last one was पढ़े लिखे नहीं है, कोई पढ़ाता नहीं है, तो आगे कैसे बढ़ेंगे? I mean, we are not educated. They're 10th, 12th pass, and nobody teaches how will we go. So we picked up these 4 words: pride, respect, inclusion, and development. And we said for each word, let's do a project. So pride, we said, Diwali, Eid, Christmas, New Year, the best day in the world is the worst day for a retail employee. I mean, you come at 10 o'clock to enjoy your shopping, but after 10, the guy closes shop at 11. Next day, he has to come at 7. Sometimes they stay back in the night to do all the inventory work. So we created a day called Retail Employees Day, 12th of December, just with a simple concept saying, can we thank them? Can we make them this as their Diwali, Eid, Christmas? To cut the story short, last year, 2024, December 12th, 20 million roughly estimated employees celebrated this in 33 countries. So something we started as a simple thanksgiving to a retail employee is being celebrated in 33 countries. Most of the department stores, most of the retailers are celebrating. For respect, we created an award, and that award is again one global. And first time in the world, retail associates in the department store are recognized globally. 2015 in Rome, 17 Toronto, 19 Tokyo, 22 in Dubai, and this year, next month in South Korea. We select the best 6 associates in the world of department stores. 45 wow. countries participate.
Wow.
That was on respect. Inclusion, we said, how do we make industry more inclusive? And I realized that India has 26 million persons with disability, and retail doesn't have even 0.1%. And we tried in 2011, set up one center in Hyderabad, skilled 22 persons with disability. Most of them are locomotive, orthopedic challenges. We got them job in Hypercity. I was the chairman then. 16 of them got promoted. And I said, well, this is godsend potential. We not look back. This year, March 25 closing, we have skilled 8,250 persons with disability, and 72% of them have taken up jobs in retail. Cumulative, starting with 22, we have crossed 42,000.
Wow.
And during this period, we had IKEA coming into the country. They wanted to do a program for women. So we did a pilot for them, and I was so impressed with the change that happens to a family when a woman from a marginalized community gets a job. So we started a program for women. Cumulatively, we have done 12,000 such women. This year, we did about 4,000. So we are on the journey of building inclusion in the retail community. But the purpose is saying, can we create an equitable and inclusive community? But Prasenjit, if I work all my life, let's say for 100 years, and do everything that I dream, will impact less than 1% of the community.
And which is the organized sector that you are talking about. So out of the 6%, maybe I think people keep debating 7 or 6% of the organized sector you will impact. So that is the challenge and the opportunity that you have ahead of us. A lot of people are cynical, and there was even a controversy recently about Indian startups not doing anything innovative or creative or cutting edge and focusing on delivering meals within 15 minutes or groceries. What is your opinion about the retail industry and the people that they employ? Are these millions of frontline people getting an opportunity to make a big difference in their lives and lives of their families, or are they simply being exploited?
I think you need to break this question into 2 or 3 parts. The first part is, and I can say with a lot of confidence because we have data, the first part is that there are lots and lots of youth who are 10th pass, 10th fail, 12th pass, who don't have jobs. Most of these youths come from such marginalized communities where the family income is less than 100,000, 150,000. They need a job, okay? Because they are 10th pass, 12th pass, there are no jobs available, okay? The easiest job is to start in retail because it is unskilled. Retail, housekeeping, security, that kind of a job. So if this industry doesn't provide that kind of a job, there is no other industry or no government institution which can provide the job. So from a job creation point of view, what the industry is setting is fabulous. Yeah, that's the first part of it. Second part of it is to say, do Indians require a 7 minutes delivery or 10 minutes delivery for us to create a delivery ecosystem? There's yes and no. Okay. The no is this is not required. The yes is the infrastructure and the growth of urban cities and the urbanization is making people very difficult for them to go 30 minutes, 40 minutes and shop and get their basic needs. And therefore, somebody was innovative in creating a business model which is serving that. And there they're getting employed. And they're getting 15, 18, 20,000 salary. The moment we are able to create an ecosystem where they can get a 20,000 in a better environment, better job, okay, they will leave the job and go. So to the extent of job creation, I think it's a great opportunity. To the extent of the work they are doing, if you're on the other side, you'll feel they are exploited. That's the second part. The third part, if you look at it, the model that has been created is innovation. If you look at a Zepto, Blinkit, BB Now, I mean, these models are very innovative and they are meeting the needs. I mean, today in the conference, I asked this question: how many of you, okay, take 10 minutes delivery? There are 150 people, 125 people raise their hands. Everybody is taking it. So we have no reason to quit because we are using that convenience. But is this the job which gives you growth? No. Because retail is a pyramidal business. This kind of business run by technology are flat. After the 500 people, you don't have 50 supervisors. In retail, you have 550 supervisors, then you have 10 store managers, regional manager, area manager. In this, it's all led by technology. So to that extent, growth is not there. Financial growth may be there. It is an insecure job. But the fact is, this is the gig working economy and you are getting jobs. Is it hard work? Very hard work. It is risk. It is risk. Okay. And in the current environment, is this the thing that you would like half your India to do? Definitely not. But what is the alternative?
Yes, and I interviewed quite a few frontline staff in one of the hospitality industry companies, which was in the list of best companies. And in my interview, I asked them one question. I said, why do you say it is a great place to work when I know you are going to leave in the next 12 months? And the answer that I got from one of them still resonates with me. He said, sir, I am the first person from my family. I am not class 10 pass. This particular hotel actually recruited me, trained me. I can now face customers, not only do back office jobs. I spend most of my time in an air-conditioned environment. For 2,000 rupees more, I will change this job because, sir, my family needs that money. But for the rest of my life, I'll be grateful to this company and the founder.
Look at this.
So I think that's what resonates about the work that you are doing, because you can't solve the Indian per capita GDP problem by sitting in an armchair.
Yeah.
But there are industries like the one that you are in, which actually is making a difference. Howsoever small, it's a big difference to that one family. Nagesh, this has been so inspiring talking to you. We could go on and on, but such a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Prasenjit.